Hello networkers, and welcome back to another episode of Ask the Network Engineer, where I will answer one of your questions. This comes from actually two users which had a very similar type of question that they asked. So the first one's from Polychronio, and he asks, how can I get into junior network engineer position without experience, but with book knowledge and certifications? Companies only want people with experience. And the other question that's very similar comes from Rohan, and he asks, hi, your videos are awesome. There's so much information you give us. I have one question. I am currently studying for his CCIE security certification. I don't have any job experience. I'm giving 100% of my time for the CCIE. So I wanted to ask, how are the job prospects for a CCIE beginner, a refresher? I'm really confused. Please help me. Thank you. So, very good information. And when I saw these two particular questions, there were some very common things between them. So I want to talk about that a little further. Okay, so this is a very good question because this is something I have always gotten, even as an engineer, for the past 10 years. And that is, look, I'm certified. I got my CCNA, I'm working on my CCNP, but it seems like it is impossible to get a network engineering position. And that has really been the basis of most of the episodes for Ask the Network Engineer, which is that you're showing interest, that you're getting certified, you're doing what is needed for that, but it doesn't seem to get employers or companies to come after you. And there's a lot of frustration, a lot of like, I don't know what's going on. I'm losing interest with this. You're frustrated. And here's something to keep in mind. This is something that as network engineers or even as system administrators, this is a particular thing that most people don't know about, but it's important to understand. That when you are certified, you get your CCNA or your CCNP, that there are two types of people that are certified. And you may have heard this in some form or another. And that is, you're either a paper certified person or a experienced certified person. Well, what does that mean exactly? Well, paper certified means that, great, you are certified. You got your CCNA or some equivalent certification, but you have no working experience. Where a experienced certified person, well, that is a person that has networking experience and they happen to get their certification. Now, the results of these two different types of certified people does make the difference on how easy it is to get employment. So a lot what I will be talking about will really be a recap of most of the other topics that I talked about in the other episodes in this series. So make sure to check out those videos if you haven't seen all of them. So let me kind of explain really very quickly about my path and how it worked out for me. And it was actually luck. Nothing was planned out. I didn't really know what the right path to do. But my experience with IT began with working with desktops and with servers. And the only thing I knew during that time was you gotta get certified. I don't know why. You gotta get certified. And I think a big part of that was because companies I was working in, they told me, hey, you get certified, you get a raise, you get a bonus. Okay, that's a good idea. So I first got my MCP, the Microsoft Certified Professional. And then from there, I got my MCSC with Server NT a long time ago. And then from there, that's when I started working at Cisco, right after I graduated from college. And at Cisco, that was where I got my CCNA. That was really where the environment where people were saying it's all about those certifications. This is what's getting the value of what you should be really looking into. So I got my CCNA and I saw the value right there within Cisco. Well, it makes sense. Cisco, CCNA, they're basically the same property. And after I left Cisco, I continued my certifications. I got my CCNP and eventually my CCIE. So as you could tell, what happened was that I gained networking experience and eventually I got my certifications. Because when I worked at Cisco, I didn't have really any networking experience. And then within 6 months was when I got my CCNA And then from there, I continued my networking experience and got my CCIE. So I did notice that when you have the experience and the certifications, getting the employment, getting jobs after that point, it was actually very easy. So let me talk about the different stages of being a network engineer and kind of what you should be kind of considering along your path. This is what I have kind of learned along the way of becoming a network engineer and eventually a senior network engineer and so forth. So stage one, of course, you're starting out. And being paper certified, it makes sense, because there is no restrictions, there's no requirements to get certified. So you can take your CCNA, your CCNP, your CCIE. There's no requirements that you cannot take those exams. And that, of course, that's very important. Now, with your CCNA, that should at least get your foot into the door for an interview. But you're looking at particular type of jobs if you have no experience. That is environments with a help desk or with technical support. That is where you have to begin if you want to eventually become a full-time network engineer. And this is technical support for ISPs, for networking type companies, cloud providers, the government, hospitals, and schools. This is basically where you want to be at for starting out and gaining this experience, but for a technical support type of a position. So now we get to stage two. So within about 6 months or so, when you're in technical support and probably doing a little bit more networking. So this is 6 months. This is a good level of experience. You're probably doing more junior network engineering type of task. And at that time, it makes sense for you to pursue your CCNP. It's the best time to do that. And also, during stage two, you want to explore within other departments within the company that you're working for to pursue other jobs that have more networking responsibility, like the networking department. Now, if that is not the right environment because that there isn't enough work to be done, or growth is not really possible, or the department itself or the dynamics of the company is impossible, then you need to leave that company and go to another company that would align perfectly with your requirements. At least you have some more networking experience to bring to the table, and you would then be experience certified, because you'll be certified and you will have some networking experience that you did in the technical support role. So again, that's very, very valuable and what you would get at stage two. But again, you want to really focus with companies that are network centric, ISPs, cloud providers. This is what you really want to look at, because there is more opportunity for moving within companies and doing more networking type of responsibilities. Furthermore, you want to always continue your studies. Keep studying new technologies, protocols, your certifications. Don't lose track of that. Number two, do your labs. So based on your certifications, get the equipment that you need from eBay, or use virtualized kind of labs like with GNS3.net, which I talked about, to help you learn how to configure routing protocols, OSPF, BGP, VPN tunnels, and other aspects of configuring VLANs, trunking, and so forth. Everything that you're learning from your certifications, do that within your own labs at home. That's very, very important. And another aspect to consider is doing networking projects outside of work during your free time. Remember, you are investing in your career, so you got to really put in the effort and the focus and sacrifice to really make this possible. So there are a lot of opportunities on Craigslist.org. That's the website for companies looking for, hey, I need help setting up a firewall. That is not me. I see a lot of those opportunities out there on Craigslist, and that is great for people who are starting out. And you can get the experience of learning how to deploy these firewalls. Our website provides these type of resources of how to configure these type of firewalls, next generation firewalls, that you can learn step by step, and then you can use that for these very small projects. You'll be very, very amazed what's out there. So with that, you will have a very good skill set that you will bring to the table. You will have your technical support experience, because you're doing support, you're doing troubleshooting. That is very, very valuable for companies. They want people who can troubleshoot and who can fix issues. Setting up new routers and that is rare. Most of your job is about supporting infrastructure. So you got to keep that in mind. And if you're doing tech support, you will have a very good foundation for that. Then of course, you're still studying and you're doing jobs on the side. Even with the labs that you're doing at home, you can kind of fluff up some things a bit and say, yes, I've done a little bit of OSPF, because you have done it in your lab. A lot of people kind of exaggerate on their resume. That's just kind of how things are. It's a tough business, so there's nothing wrong with doing that. Just don't extend it too far with that. And of course, you are certified. So as you can tell at stage 2, you will become experience certified, which can make you very valuable for stage 3. Then we get to stage 3, and this is starting to define what you are, that you want to be a network engineer. So stage 3 means that you're about 1 to 2 years in or more as a network engineer, and you'll probably land yourself a position as a network engineer at this particular time. Again, you want to strongly consider looking at employment opportunities, especially when you're starting out, if you're struggling with service providers, cloud providers, and other network-centric companies. That's very, very important. If you're starting out and you're struggling to get that networking experience, those are the environments that you should be looking at heavily. Companies like banks or most independent type companies, they're looking for network engineers who are basically experienced in what they do. They will hire those people. They're not going to hire people that are paper certified. So you will get all that experience in the other environments that are network centric. That's why it's very, very, very important. But also stage 3. This is where you have probably determined that, yes, networking is what I want for my career. And this is the best time to pursue your CCIE, which luckily, that is one of the recommendations. It's recommended to have at least 2 years of networking experience before pursuing your CCIE. And that's exactly what I did. I gained 2 years of networking experience. I got certified CCNA, CCNP, but after 2 years, it was when I pursued my CCIE. At this time, we get to stage 4, and this means that you are 2 years in as a network engineer with experience. And at this time, well, your path is pretty much set. And that means you can apply and obtain the real networking type of positions that you truly, truly want. So that means you want to make sure that you update your resume. That will list all your experience, all your certifications, the different projects that you have exposure to. Also updating your LinkedIn page. This is something that I talked about in other episodes of this series. That is extremely valuable. You want to update your LinkedIn page with all these companies, your experience, your certifications, because that is what companies, employers, recruiters for that matter, they're all looking for people. There are so many opportunities out there. And hopefully in another episode coming up soon, I will share some of those type of experiences of what is out there. There are tons of jobs out there. If you have that experienced certified position. So this is stage 4. This is where you get to reap the benefits of your hard work and of your reward of studying very hard, getting certified CCNP, CCIE, and getting the experience that you have done during those long years. And that will lead you to the very last stage, stage 5. And this is where you've been doing networking for about 5 to 10 plus years. But it's also important that during this time, you have to continue to learn. New technologies will always be out there for networking. So you just can't say, whew, I made it. Let me just kick back and relax. You have to always be learning the new stuff that is out there. SDN, cloud networking is still a big thing. Fabric Path, so forth. Those are new technologies that you have to be aware what is out there and getting that type of experience of learning about that. I'm not saying directly hands-on with it, because you'll be specialized with what you want to do at that particular time period. But you got to be aware of the new stuff that is out there before you be left behind and you're back to square one again. You don't want that. You put in too much work and effort and pain to not go back there. And it's not that hard, just learning, reading a few things here and there. When I pick up my kids every day, I always search what is the new stuff out there, and I just read it. Something like Fabric Path, which is a big component for data center networks, for cloud networks. No problem. Just find a good article about it and just read what it is and pros and cons, best practices. Not that hard. You can definitely do it. So those are things to keep in mind. You have to always continue your education. This is no autopilot. You got to always keep your learning process moving forward. But also at this time, again, you'll probably be more specialized with maybe security, data center, storage. It all depends what you determine during this time period. But you could get into consulting. And consulting is where it's bringing a lot of things all together at once with that expertise. You could be doing voice, security, data center, everything. And consulting is that kind of platform. And that typically happens for people that have 5-10 years of networking experience. But also, you may change career paths entirely, which is something that I talked about in the very other episode, actually, that you may get into management. I know a lot of people who have been CCIEs. They got their hands dirty, but now they're network managers, and then they want to be CTOs, CIOs. That's the path that they want to take, the management path, which is perfectly fine. This happens at this particular stage of what you would do next in your career. So for me, I'm at stage 5, and I determined that I wanted to do consulting, but to do my own business. So do consulting, do practical training. I had a particular vision. So that's what I decided for my next step. I didn't have any interest in being a manager or a CTO. I have no interest in that. I like to get my hands dirty. That is fun for me. I'll be 50 or 60 still doing that because that is what I truly, truly love. I love technology. So again, that is where you will get to stage 5 and you will determine what is next for you as a veteran network engineer. But the hardest stage really to move ahead is stage 2. That is the hard part for most people who have the experience and need to get into a position where they can do networking. That is the frustration, where people are certified, but they're not getting the opportunity of doing these things. And a lot of times when I talk to people, I really talk to people, and I really want to hear from you guys a lot about this though. I want to hear, how are you applying for jobs? What kind of jobs are you applying for? I want to hear about this from all you guys, and then post your questions below. Because a lot of people that I talk to, and I'm really curious to kind of give some good guidance, is I say, well, what are you doing in terms of how you want to be a network engineer? So you're certified. How are you looking at your different job options? And a lot of people usually tell me, they say, well, I go to different websites, job websites, and I search for network engineer. And I apply for those jobs. And they always tell me that I don't have enough experience or I don't have any experience. That's what they tell me, but I need to get the experience. So I tell them, okay, you can't do that yet. You can't search for a job as a network engineer. You can't do that yet because they're looking for people that have the experience. The certification is like the cherry on top. They will love that, but you got to have the experience. And the certifications makes it perfect where you are in the door guaranteed, so to speak. You're not looking for network engineering positions. You're looking for like technical support, network technician, network technical support, NOC engineer, network operations center. That's what NOC stands for. You want to look for those type of jobs. And you want to go to the actual main websites of like Cisco, to many ISPs, cloud providers that are out there. Go to their main websites out there. And then from there, look for those type of jobs with technical support that has networking responsibilities. They have that. So that's where you want to look for those jobs, get that experience. And when you have that experience and the certifications, that is when you start searching for network engineering positions. That's what you want to do. And that's what I usually guide people on the best track for them to become a full-fledged network engineer. And we are finished. So keep those considerations in mind. And if you haven't seen the other episodes in this series, please check that out. I give a lot of information on what to consider. But again, I want to hear from you guys. I want you to post your questions below about anything in the networking field or being a network engineer. But extending that further, I want to know, how are you spending your time with studying? Post that below. Post your stories about that. Post, how are you applying for jobs? Are you looking on Dice.com, Monster.com, Craigslist? How are you looking for jobs? Are you looking for network engineering positions? How are you doing your searching for that? I want to hear from you guys about your entire experience. Post that below so we can talk more about this, to try to get you on a path where you can be not frustrated, but to be more confident of what you need to do to get where you want to go. Okay, so I want to hear from you guys. Please post your stories and your questions in the comments below. So thank you for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel. You can also send us any questions you want on our Facebook page. We got that. We have a Tumblr page. I'm not sure you can even do questions on there, but if you can, great. But we have our Facebook page. We have a LinkedIn page. We even have a Twitter page. You can even tweet us your questions. So just follow us and send those questions that I can look at and we can answer for you guys for wanting to be a network engineer. I even have my own Twitter page that I post various things on from time to time. So you can subscribe to that and get that information there as well. So again, I want to hear from you guys. Post your stories below and I will see you guys next time.